And welcome back this morning. I am here with Mr. Harlan Mitchell, and Harlan is an attorney here on Jefferson Street. How are you?
Just fine. How are you this morning?
Doing great, doing great. Well, Harlan, you know, last month was a big political time for all of us here, and I'm glad that's all over. But one of the things that the new DA is stressing, or part of his campaign, was tougher laws, tougher sentences, and I'm assuming the community is going to watch and see and hold him to that. So why would they need such a great attorney?
Well, they're going to need a good attorney who's got some experience and some knowledge in how the system works. For the majority of the last 35 years, I've either been a police officer or an attorney, or working for a law firm doing criminal defense. And I have a unique perspective as to how the system works, and I view things a little bit differently. I can guide people through the process, and I can help try to mitigate the harshness that the new district attorney is proposing in his sentencing.
And that's going to be a big thing. There's going to be a lot, or supposedly going to be a lot more trials. They're going to be tougher on sentences. So going into a trial or a courtroom without an attorney, for one, is not a good idea at all.
Not at all.
Ever.
Never.
What is that? Only the fool represents himself?
There's
a lot of truth.
A lot of truth to that, yes.
A lot of truth to that. Well, you being on both sides, you've been a police officer for many, many years, and then a criminal defense attorney. So like you said, you do have different angles on both sides. I would imagine that's very helpful. It's
very helpful. I can look at the police reports and the evidence that's been gathered by law enforcement, and I have maybe a different perspective on it than somebody who's never done that, and I can kind of look at it and say that, well, maybe I can attack it here, and maybe different areas that somebody who hasn't had that experience can't do.
Now if you're in trouble at all and you need an attorney, actually Harlan can help you in that side. And if there's areas that you don't cover, you can have people that you can recommend them to, I'm sure. But going into the law and everything, and holidays are coming up, unfortunately, there are more DUIs.
There
are accidents. And the one thing, when someone has a car accident, what is the most important thing for them to do immediately?
Well, after they've notified the authorities and got their medical treatment, one of the first things they need to do is see an attorney and see what their rights may be so they can be protected. Because you can rest assured the insurance company does not have your best interest at heart.
Say that again?
The insurance company does not have your best interest at heart. They want to get out of it for the least dollar possible to them. Okay. And you're going to need somebody to help guide you with it and get you the best settlement you can.
Right, and that happens quick, because sometimes if you're injured, you don't know what the long-term medical bills are going to be, so you're quick to settle, and then if you go back and your doctor says, oh, well, that's due to, that neck or that injury is due to that car accident you just had. You can't go back once you've signed those papers.
That's true, and a lot of insurance companies want you to come out and sign quickly within the first week to 2 weeks, when you need to be taking your time. There's what's known as maximum medical improvement. Is what you want to reach before you start thinking about settling, because you want to make sure all your injuries have been healed and you're doing back to 100%.
All right. When you talk about criminal defense, is that just anything, whether you've been accused of a crime? So, I mean, you handle anything. This could be from multiple tickets or just being arrested for anything, basically.
Well, anything from traffic tickets all the way to murder.
Wow.
And everything in between. As a criminal defense attorney, that's what I do, is I take everything in the criminal field and try to represent somebody on it. I tend to think that sometimes we're our last defenders of our civil liberties, and that the criminal defense attorney is making sure that our liberties and rights are being protected by making sure the law's followed. And over my years, I've seen the good faith exception be expanded to police officers are allowed to do more and more than they were, say, 10, 15 years ago.
So you have seen a change in that?
I have.
You have, and you were actually in it many years ago, so you have firsthand information on that.
And so, but I see it's starting to change just a little bit, and I think we need a good balance. I mean, the police officers have to be able to do their job. We need what they do. They provide a valuable service. And as I've said before, sometimes they make arrests because they have probable cause, and it solves their problem at the moment. Gotcha. And not necessarily did they arrest them with the order to convict them. They arrested them to solve the problem that they had, knowing that they have probable cause, but maybe not enough evidence to convict.
You know, when people are arrested and they're given, you know, that they're reading their rights to them, and they say, you know, you have the right to remain silent. What would you like to tell a possible future client?
Remain silent.
I knew you were going to say that. You think the biggest problem is we open our mouths and talk too much?
Well, we do, and one of my favorite sayings is, you have the right to remain silent, use it. If you fail to use it, you will be misquoted, and it will be used against you. Yeah. And just try to remember and not be like Ron White and his commercial. Or his comedy routine. I knew I had the right to remain silent, I just didn't have the ability. So try to make sure you're not in that bad a shape.
That's probably great advice there, too. Make sure you contact an attorney. Make sure you don't go to court alone. And you're located where, Harlan? 213
South Jefferson Street here in Athens.
Easy to find. All right. If you need to get in touch with him, you can always email us, ztv@jamiecooper.com. Thank you, Harlan, very much. And take his advice as well. Watch those Facebook pages, too. You may not think it's important now, but you will if you're having to look at it again in court. So be very careful on that part.